Today, we're going to check out an RPG for the Game Boy Color called Lufia: The Legend Returns. There won't be any shots of the packaging or the manual because I played this one through an emulator. In fact, this was one of the very first games I emulated back in 2010. I won't go into why I think having access to ROMs is important, because there are other people who have explained it way better than I ever could, but I will say that without emulation, I probably wouldn't have ever played this game. I've never seen the game in any shops in my area, and it never appeared on the Wii's Virtual Console. It did eventually appear on the 3DS eShop in 2015 though. Before you start the game, there is a lengthy intro about the first and second Doom Island Wars. After viewing this, we get to meet our hero Wayne, who is a guardian for a small village. One day, a lightning bolt suddenly appears out of the sky and destroys his neighbor's house. When the townsfolk reveal to Wayne that the bolt actually came from the Tower of Death, Wayne and Cena decide to scale the tower and confront the first of 4 Sinistrals at the top. The plot is decent, but would have been much better if everything didn't have such a juvenile feel to it. I'm not sure if this is common throughout the series, as this is the only Lufia game I've played thus far. A lot of small words were used here, although that may have been done just to make things easier to read on the tiny Game Boy Color screen. Wait, is that treant called a torrent? Alright, we need to discuss the translation for this game. For a game that was released in 2001, there are an awful lot of localization errors. There are misspelled words all over the place, even in the game's intro. Usually, I don't care about stuff like this, as I feel a lot of people get their panties in a bunch over some really trivial things, but some of the mistakes here can cause problems. The big one that I ran into was people telling you to go in the wrong direction. For example, an NPC will tell you that the lighthouse is northeast, when it's actually to the northwest. If this was an isolated incident, I wouldn't think much of it, but it ended up happening several times throughout the adventure. Well, maybe they were using the logic of if you keep traveling east, you'll eventually be in the west. So technically, they're not wrong. Lufia's graphics are really nice for the most part. The towns and world map look great, although the randomly generated dungeons can be a bit dull and repetitive. I really like the monster designs, which all look great given the limitations of the hardware. One thing I don't understand about the graphics is the character sprites. For whatever reason, the sprites are either red, blue, or green. You might think this is a hardware limitation, but during combat, the character art and monsters will display many different colors, so I'm not sure why the sprites were given such a basic look. Most of your time in the game will be spent in the large, randomly generated dungeons. Inside you will find many cracks in the wall, along with foliage scattered around the floor for certain rooms. Slashing these with the A button is very important, as they will reveal traps, treasures, and secret rooms with more valuable treasures. If you're really lucky, you'll uncover a healing spot, but these are few and far between. The battles in this game are fairly unique due to the 9-person party you can take into every encounter. You can only attack with one character in each column per turn though, unless you have Moose in your party. You don't have any control over what he does, but it's nice to have an extra attack or debuff each round. A couple of downsides to taking so many people into combat is that the enemy is able to target everyone at once sometimes. Not only is it annoying having to heal party members who may not even be contributing to the fight, but it also slows things down a bit when you have to watch the same attack animation 9 times in a row. These are really minor gripes though, as combat is pretty enjoyable. During a turn, you'll be able to do the normal attack, defend, item, and magic commands. In addition to these, each character has a set of special skills called Spiritual Force, which are learned by finding ancient texts within the dungeons. These use an IP gauge that is separate from your magic points. The nice thing about this gauge is that it will gradually refill during battle, and will also refill rapidly if that character takes damage. This makes the Spiritual Force skills a lot more useful than magic. In fact, I rarely use magic outside of healing and reviving. One thing that I really love is that you can target dead characters with healing spells. When you combine this with the fact that it's easy to predict what order characters will act in, it becomes very easy to revive and heal a dead party member within the same turn. It's something I wish more RPGs would let you do. New magic is learned at churches, which is also where you'll save the game. You even have the option of using a temporary quick save at any time, which will exit the game and take you back to the main menu. When first starting out, it will be very expensive to outfit your party with the best gear. However, once you have completed the first 3 or 4 dungeons, money should never be an issue again, since you gain so much from monsters and treasure chests. The music in Lufia the Legend Returns is quite enjoyable, even for someone like me who generally isn't a huge fan of chiptunes. There are plenty of hummable melodies here, and I really like the victory theme a lot. It may not be as iconic as the ones from Final Fantasy or the Dragon Quest games, but it's pretty darn good. Lufia the Legend Returns is a solid RPG for the Game Boy Color. While the localization may not be the best, and it does have a very kiddie vibe at times, the fun and challenging combat along with a nice soundtrack make this one worth checking out. It may not be as good as other games in the series, but still worth playing if you're looking for a good RPG on the system. If you'd like to buy this game, you can get a cart-only copy on eBay for around 25 bucks. You may see cheaper ones with gray plastic and the word game printed across the top, but these are crappy counterfeit carts from China that should be avoided, unless you like giving people money for fake merchandise. You can also download it on the 3DS eShop for about $6. Anyways, that will do it for this one. As always, I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next time.